because of technology now, because of social media, it's so easy to be connected with each other around the world, and it's so much better to. It's so much more convenient and more proud to say that this is a global community rather than having segmented kind of little local salsa clubs and all that. This is a entire world loving this style, and there's no discrimination, there's no age group, there's no stereotypes. We just dance, and this is beautiful. It's a gorgeous thing.
Mama sa kungi betengo we kumoyi ingumada takana okyo sokinu kibangase manuele ngando mushisamye manuele.
Hey, all right. So I am now on the line with a Miss Kelsi Chow, who is a dance professional at Tropic Soul Dance Studio in Sydney, Australia. If I'm not mistaken, you were born in Hong Kong, but currently living in the Sydney, Australia.
Yep, that's right.
Hey, how you doing today, Kelsey?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited, a little
Hey,
nervous, but I'm great.
no worries, no worries. Um, so I guess I want to start this out, Miss Kelsey. I don't know if you mind me asking, but you were born in Hong Kong, correct? How long did you live there?
I lived there for 16 years, and I've been
Okay.
in for about 7.5 years now. So I grew up there. I studied high school, I studied elementary school, all that. And then when I got to senior year, I just wasn't happy. My family wasn't happy. Like, whatever's happening in Hong Kong right now, for someone who's been there, it started really early on. The signs were there. So we decided, you know what, we need to find somewhere better. We need to find somewhere with a better education, find somewhere that is better acceptance. There's less prejudice, there's no discrimination. So we came to Australia and just loved it there. I went to school, I went to university. My parents eventually found jobs there too. My mom's studying a PhD, so it's great. And then here I am doing dancing pretty much like full time. My sister's turning college, so I really love it. It's great.
I don't. Do you mind if we speak on Hong Kong for a little bit?
No, not at all. I
Oh
think
man. Okay, yeah, definitely. Because I've definitely been hearing about what's happening in Hong Kong, and it's pretty crazy. If you don't mind me asking, I guess, how was your childhood growing up in Hong Kong? Like, what do you remember of it?
um I remember that it was a lot. The culture itself was a lot more different. So I was born in 1995, which means I was 2 years right before the handover. So when I grew up, I remember my childhood being there's a huge emphasis on knowing your English, but also knowing where you come from. So also knowing your Mandarin, also knowing your Cantonese. So for me, I loved my childhood. I look back and I'm like, I'm very proud to be able to share the fact that I'm a combination of what Hong Kong used to be. We were a British colony, but we still have our Chinese roots and we keep that. So growing up, but still it's a traditional Chinese city, So I remember growing up, I had those series of traditional Chinese parents. Like I started dancing at a young age, and they'd be like, "No, that's not the right job for you. Be a doctor, be a lawyer, and stuff like that." I've been through all that stuff, but growing up, they kind of just went over it, and they understood that this is what I loved, which is great. But I still focused on my studies. We always made sure that academics, having a good education, is really, really important. But I think, especially because of the Western side of thinking, because they believed in free thought, they appreciated the arts a lot more. That it kind of cultivated more of a passion in me since a young age, and I knew that that was what I wanted to pursue. Rather than a more traditional white collar job. I knew that I wanted something that it was more insightful. It was something that was more meaningful to me, and it's something that was practical. I want to do things with my hands rather than do things with the books, which is unlike what a lot of people in Hong Kong, a lot of people in China want to do. But it's great. Yeah, so my childhood was pretty good.
I definitely understand that. Let me ask.
Hey kid, come here.
Hey, if you could leave a like and subscribe, that would be amazing for the channel. Let's get
I
back to the show.
understand that. Let me ask you this real quick. We obviously both have different backgrounds. So I'm very curious. What was it like growing up? With I guess your parents from Hong Kong. What was it like growing up in that household?
Um, it's ooh, it's growing up it was chaotic when I was young, in a way. Because Hong Kong itself is a chaotic city. I live in a very urban, at the time, still very developed place.
Real quick. What part of Hong Kong did you live in?
I lived in Kowloon.
Kowloon. Okay.
So if you go to Hong Kong, there's a mall. It's called Festival Walk. I literally am like 10 minutes away. So I live in one of those. At the time, it was still being developed. So I lived in shabby apartments. Place spaces were really really small, and Hong Kong culture still sticks to that, unless like it is unless you are coming from a wealthy family. Most likely, the space that you live in looks like a studio apartment. So I shared a bed with my sister until I came to Australia. I didn't have my own bedroom. At the time, we didn't have iPhones, we didn't have laptops, computers, and all that. So I remember my childhood. We had a lot of attention with each other. TV only just came in, so it was great. That's why it's even more chaotic, because there are a lot of things that are face on. Like, I spoke a lot to my parents. We argued a lot, but we always resolved a lot, and it's great. I remember from a young age, they would always. Um, I was never homeschooled, but I remember having like summer school, so which means I would stay home every day. My parents would have a schedule going like, "Hey, you need to study this, study this, study this," and they would do it with me. They wanted to make sure that I was like emphasizing again on the importance of education. Especially during my generation, I remember everything was changing, and they wanted to change the mindset of the young to be like, Hong Kong is unique. Hong Kong is not part of China, nor is it part of a British colony anymore. This is us in our own way, trying to make a statement for the new generation that we are our own, and we're proud of that. We're proud to be a combination. We're proud to be a mixture. And I remember a lot of that. My parents kind of supported that kind of education back then as well. They were very happy that I was able to speak fluent English, because from the start they gave me a lot of English textbooks. They would play a lot of Disney my childhood, which is crazy, but that's why I was able to kind of form sentences, whereas a lot of people in Hong Kong today have a lot of broken English, because it's not really embedded in their culture anymore. Right now, it's more of the emphasis on Mandarin rather than English, which is I find a little bit tragic. But still, yeah, it's chaotic. It's a lot of a balance between Mandarin and English, because my parents love languages, so I remember doing that a lot. It's a lot of finding myself, because I come from a place where the world is changing, the world is developing. We didn't have a lot of resources, but we were still. It's like it's a lot on self identity. You have to identify yourself as being Hong Kongese, no, not Chinese. Which is a big difference. And I studied in local school. I didn't study in any international school. So I grew up in a proper local school with Hong Kong teachers and all that. So for me, it's easier through experience to say how I could observe the changes in what I was studying. I can observe the changes in what my teachers and my parents were saying in my head, or what they were trying to get me to think, what they were trying to mold me into. And that's why, hence, when I later grew up, when I was in my teenage years, like 15, 16, and I noticed the textbooks were a little bit different. English wasn't that big of a priority, and rather a lot of the material that they started teaching was very, very biased. So they started being like, hey, um, why is China such a modern city? Why is it better than other countries? Now that kind of rings a bell. That's not good, and even my parents could see that's not good. So
Okay. Yeah.
it's
Let
starting
me.
to get a little bit political. I'm sorry,
No,
but
you good. I want to hear all this. No, that's perfectly fine. Let me ask you this real quick. I guess what were some of your childhood hobbies growing up in Hong Kong? What did you enjoy doing?
Okay. Um, I love dancing. So I started ballet when I was 2 years old, and I didn't stop. Even when I went to Australia, I actually didn't stop until I had my public exams. So that was probably the 1 year that I can say that I had zero dancing. But yeah, I've just been dancing all my life. I was an athlete, so I did a lot of competitive swimming. I was in the badminton and the tennis team. I did alpine skiing. So I did a lot of sport. At one point, that my parents looked at me and or they remind me that when I was young, I used to say, "Hey, I want to be one of three things when I grow up. I either want to be a dancer, I want to be an Olympic swimmer, or I want to be an architect." So they're all
That's
very, very
awesome.
different. I love, yeah, yeah, it's cool.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So you're growing up in Hong Kong. I guess, do you, as you're growing up there, do you start to, is it through school how you start to notice the change in, like, I guess, your hometown, or is it like, do things ever change for you? Like, what made your parents leave? I guess, was it a better opportunity outside of Hong Kong?
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's not for me personally. I could see it in the books because I was still at school. But for the rest of my family, or for everyone else who had a job, who have finished their studies, it was a little more obvious on a social level. Like you go on the street and you notice there are people with suitcases just going around and they don't speak fluent Cantonese. And what they do is they create all this chaos on the streets because they think they own them. Because they think, oh, we're part of the greater, like the greater country. You're part of us. We can do whatever we want. And we were like, no, I don't want to get into too much details, but I can say that nothing's violent. It's all very peaceful. It's all, at the time, it was still very nice and resolved. But you could tell that there was a bit of concern for us. So, just to name a couple of examples that were properly announced on social media, we had a phase where a lot of people in the mainland were coming in to consume or to purchase baby formula because Hong Kong had it much cheaper. They would literally take the train, come to Hong Kong, buy baby formula, stuff in their suitcase, fly back. And we're like, yo, we have children of our own to feed. You can't just take away all our baby formula.
And
It's
and
not
so
cool.
and so
But we're
what
like,
and so what? Just buying it in, like, mass quantities.
yeah, oh yeah. They would go
Uh,
to the soup like and it's not like they are going to the supplier and buying it in bulk. No, they go to the supermarket, they go to the grocery store, just literally take them off the shelf, put them in the bag, and we're like looking at the shelves going like, hey, that ain't cool. And I've seen supermarkets with shelves with like maybe two cans of baby formula and everything else is fine. And I'm like, that's weird. So I look back and I'm like, huh, oh well. So that was one example, and we were like, yeah, sure, whatever. Um, there was one more example that I remember from the top of, that I suddenly forgotten from the top of my head. But I think you kind of get an idea. Even these little details or these little acts, just on a social level, you just want to go to the grocery store, and
okay,
you
now,
could see that people weren't being fair.
yeah, and I definitely understand that. I definitely do. I guess we'll get back to dancing. I guess then. Let me ask you
Yeah,
this
but
then.
what we
um,
went like a total social political route, which is crazy, but I like it. Like, thank you for asking because it's nice for someone to be able to ask for that kind of experience because I hear a lot of people, even in Sydney, they're not sure. So I'm actually really glad that I can talk about it.
of course, I'm glad you can as well. I mean, I still want to talk about it further, but let me ask you this real quick. How important was music in your household when you were growing up?
Oh, very important. My parents love a lot of the old 80s, 90s American music. So my parents never liked Hong Kong music, which was hilarious. They loved ABBA, they loved BB, they loved that kind of really old school music. And they liked a bit of Michael Jackson, but I loved him more. And I grew up listening to a lot of American kind of pop music, R&B. So it just kind of gave me like a really strong kind of urge to move. Like I really wanted to dance. I really wanted to just groove to it, you know. And I actually forgot to say I did a bit of musical theater as well. So in Hong Kong they have an Academy of Performing Arts, and I did musical theater since I was 13. I just auditioned for some musical, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna get it. I'm not musically trained. I'm not singing trained. All I know how to do is dance. So I'm like, yeah, nah, like it's not gonna work. And I did, and I nailed a role. And
Nice. That's awesome.
yeah, so it's something that I still love. Like I love Broadway musicals because I watch the choreography and it's very very different, you know. So for me, it also inspires me. I love the way that singing can be translated, or singing can be used as a powerful language to just, you know, create a message or send something that is very important. So it's great. And then obviously, like, so listening to Broadway musicals, listening to a lot of American pop and a lot of American R&B, and I'm like, this is great, you know. So that's what influenced me growing up, and I just love to dance even more to that music.
All right. This is something that I'm very curious to know about. How big of an influence does, I guess, Western culture, Western society, how big of an influence does that have on Hong Kong? Did you notice that at all?
Oh yeah, of course I did. Like back then, it had a huge influence. We even had our own TV program. It's called because we so the Hong Kong channel is called TV. It's television broadcasting, and I remember growing up, they set up their own channel called TVB Pearl, which means it was all in English. Every newspaper article that they had was, or every um, kind of report was dubbed back in English, and they would replay a lot of American shows, which is why I grew up like loving Western culture. And when I moved to Australia, it was so much easier. So they would play a lot of like so cliche to say this, but I grew up watching a lot of America's Next Top Model and Project Runway. That was the main stuff that they played on a Saturday, Sunday night, and I'm like, this is awesome, you know. So yeah, it definitely Western culture just changed a lot. You know, like you could see it on the media, on TV. You could studying as well. Like you could tell that the books that we had to read started to be a lot more complicated. And when I grew up in elementary school, they actually would bring in a couple of foreign, proper Western teachers just to come in and teach literature, which is amazing. You know, that's why I grew up and I'm like, I was loving the arts even more because I know before then they would focus a lot of Chinese texts and a lot of Chinese history, Chinese literature. And don't get me wrong, I love them. But being a 6 year old not knowing what Chinese or English literature is, and your first exposure is English literature, you know, and I thought this is amazing. This is what I love. And I loved English more than, well, very bad to say this, but I preferred English as my language more than Cantonese or Mandarin. I still speak fluently in both of them, but I find it much more comfortable with English, you know, because of what I was surrounded with.
I definitely understand that. Wait, real quick. I want to show off real quick.
Yeah.
我会说一点普通话。
Ah, 很好,很好.
So it would be like 你会说普通话吗？
Ma. So
Ma.
it's literally ma, M-A.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yo, well done. And everything. It's right on the money. Well done.
Hey. That's the thing though. With Mandarin, there are different ways to say yes or no, right? Like to affirm something.
Yeah, so that's the complicated thing. We have like how many provinces in China? You go to a different city and the dialect of Mandarin just changes a little bit. But the basic alphabet doesn't. So even if you went to like Beijing or you went up north to those provinces, they would say it a little bit quicker, a little bit slower. But the way that you're intonating, they can understand. Oh, okay, you might have learned it from like more of a southeast province, but we understand what you're saying.
Eh,
So it's kind of like how you go to trying to name a good example. It's like when you go to the UK and or
Right,
you go to
right, right.
Ireland. Oh, Ireland, that's a good example. So there's a different parts of Ireland, and they speak they have different accents, they have different ways of speaking, but the alphabet still stays the same. We still spell A B C D E F G, so it's the same thing.
Nah, Dev, you're right about that. And real quick for anyone listening, I said I speak a little bit of Mandarin. and I asked her if you spoke any Mandarin. Um, but so real quick, let me ask you this though. I'm very curious to hear. So you said you moved to Australia when you were 16. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
when I was
So
6 years old.
let me ask you this then. I guess I'm very curious to hear kind of like a two-part question here. The first part being, what was that first year like when you moved to Australia? What was that transition like for you? And the second part being, could you compare Hong Kong and Australia? How are they different? Are they similar at all?
Yep. Okay. So the transition for me I would say for the first 3 months, it was a little strange. Um, it was more on a personal level because I went to boarding school actually. So I went to school, really great school called Askin, located in Sydney, which is great. Shout out to them. And I remember a lot of the ways that I would even gesture to my teachers. Like in Hong Kong, traditionally, we have to give a really small bow to our teachers just to say hi. We don't go, oh, hey, Mrs. Lockwood or whatever the heck. You actually look at your teacher and you actually give them like a tiny bow. And it was something that I grew up with for 16 years. And I
Right, of
remember
course.
and I remember I went to Australia. I went to Sydney, and I accidentally bowed in front of my deputy headmistress, and she gave me this huge lecture, going like, now, Kelsi, you don't do that in Australia." And I'm like, "Yo, okay, calm down. I didn't know that. I'm sorry. Next time I'll wave at you." And she's like, "Yes, please," and then walked off. Like, oh wow. So I find that the transition for the first 3 months was a little rocky because for me, I couldn't tell what was right and what was wrong, especially in terms of personal interactions. The other thing that was hard to transition was actually clothing. So Hong Kong, I always wore things that were very, very conservative. I wore like proper pajamas, and then I came to Australia, and people are wearing like a Peter Alexander kind of skimpy shorts, and I look at them going like, "Aren't you cold?" They look at me and they go, "Aren't you too warm?" And I'm like, "It's very, very different, but it's cool." And then eventually, I started getting used to being in Sydney 3 months later. So I got to study. We had school uniforms, so that wasn't the problem. But for me, the transition was so quick because, um, and then leading on to your second question as well, it's different. Yes, it's very, very different in a way that Sydney is actually much more socially accepting. It is much more harmonic, and I don't feel like I always need to be quiet or isolated. I can go to the street and yell, "Yo, hello, good morning," and someone would say good morning back to me. So I find that the Sydney society is a lot more lenient. It's a lot more happy. It's a lot more chill. That's why we're called down under. We're here down under, and we're just chilling it. We're living the life. There's not there, obviously we want to get with the times, but there isn't really a huge need for it. And for example, like on the topic of salsa bachata as well, um I know that Australia is behind from the rest of the world, and obviously to some extent we want to keep up with the patterns, we want to keep up with the trends, but at the same time we don't really have a big urgency to. We started our community in year 2000, which is like years later than every other city in the world. So we're like, nah, it's cool. We're just gonna go with the flow and see how it goes. We have our own waves. Um, we have our own pace, and that's what I really loved about Australia growing up because they let me transition at my own pace. There was no sense of urgency to be like, you have to be this, this, this. You have to learn how to cook a sausage on the Barbie. Like there was none of those. It was like, nah, take your time, and everyone was really nice. They were very eager to know what was like growing up from Hong Kong because most of them never been. In fact, most of the people I knew were from the country, so they grew up in rural areas, which was again very different. I went to my first farm. I stayed over at a farmhouse, which was great, and you never get to do that in Hong Kong. Like, where are you gonna find a farm with cows and sheep and chickens in Hong Kong? It's impossible. So, it was a change that had a rocky start because of my mannerisms and what I was used to. but it became a lot easier after the first 3 months, because everyone was just so accepting, and for me, it was so much less uptight, which is great.
Hey, yeah. I think it also probably made it an easier transition because you had probably perfected your English by that time, right? Or you were able to speak it at
Yeah,
least.
yeah. I like to think that way. I think I at the time I would still be able to write sentences. I think the way that I was speaking had a mixed American accent. Like I grew up in Hong Kong, everyone's like, "Oh, you're American." I'm like, "I'm not American. I'm from Hong Kong." What are you talking about? But because, like what I said, all the Tyra Banks, all the Heidi Klum, the Project Runway stuff. I watched so much TV and I listened to so much Disney that I would repeat what I say. And that's what kids do. They repeat what they hear. So that's why I have this weird accent that sure it's fluent, you can understand it, but there's also a bit of a brokenness to it, which is coming from the Hong Kong side of
Okay, I mean, I'm able to have a conversation with you, and I guarantee you, your English is way better than my Mandarin, so we are good.
things.
So we're gonna get into dancing, I promise you. But let me ask you this real quick. I don't know if you even know this, but how was the transition for your parents? Do you know?
um Actually, I only know one side of it because at the time I was busy with my I came into Australia just as my my class was about to do their public exam. So I didn't really have time to talk to my parents as much at the time. I was busy studying. But one thing that I know for sure, so my dad was the first person to come to Sydney with me. He was able to find a job. He found an apartment in the central business district because that was kind of where he worked, and I was in boarding school. Um, the transition was difficult at first. It was mostly on a financial level, because a lot of things are really like unprecedented. It's unpredictable. We don't know whether we were going to stay here in the long run. We don't know whether we're going to move to maybe a different state or a different place, but we knew we wanted to stay in Australia. So we were trying to see whether it could happen. And thankfully, my dad found a really good job. He works more for property, I I was very lucky that my grades were scoring really really well. So it just kind of proves to show Sydney might be the right place. So then my mom came over and she signed up for a PhD, which is great. So she's now it's part-time PhD, so she's still working on it. We've been here for 8 years. She's almost finishing it up, and it's about and you know what? She's funny enough. She's writing about um, being a teacher in Hong Kong because she's an educator. That's hence why all the language and the linguistics in it. And she's writing a paper just to research about how the difference between Western and Western and Eastern culture in the education system, which is great. So the transition for my parents was a struggle similar to me. I think it was a struggle at first because financially we don't know what was going to happen, and we were a little bit scared at first because I wanted to stay and my parents wanted to stay, but you got to make it happen. And if you're a parent with two kids and like a spouse, it's a lot on your shoulders. But my sister did end up coming to Australia as well. She studied in the same school as I did. We both passed or aced the exams with flying colors. We're both in our own respective routes in college, and we're able to kind of find our own jobs and hold on our own 2 feet. So I'm currently able to have dancing as a full time job, and I'm able to sustain myself with the money I earn from my dancing. My sister at the moment she's getting there. She's studying economics in Melbourne. She's really happy. And my mom and my dad can now finally relax and get the time for themselves that they deserve, which is great. So it's a lot of hard work put into the transition, but it all paid off in the end.
Okay, now that's awesome. That's awesome. I got a couple of questions I want to ask you, but well, I guess this is just start at the beginning. So you moved to Australia, um, and I guess were you provided the opportunity to start dancing then, or did you have to wait till after you graduated high school and college and everything?
Which style of dance?
Ooh, okay. So the start that then. What did you start with
I started with ballet.
back in Hong Kong?
They Yeah, back in Hong Kong 2 years ago. So here's like short blurb of how much I've been dancing. Yeah, so 2 years old, I started ballet. I did all the exams. So there's a Royal Academy of Dance exam. It's in London, and I completed every examination possible. So I went up to, so for all those who know ballet, I went up to advanced one. I didn't go up to advanced two and solo seal because I continued to go to Australia. So I had to study. It's okay. I'll. That's a story for another day. It's like a huge grid of list of exams and all that. But while I was still doing ballet, I found it very, very uptight, and at the same time, I didn't have the shape for being a ballerina. So first of all, I was much shorter. So I'm actually 5'1". I'm a tiny girl, and the other thing is I'm very broad shouldered. So you can't see with the t-shirt that I'm wearing at the moment, but I'm actually a rather muscular girl because at the time I also did, like what I said, I did all the
Yeah, you did
swimming.
sports,
I,
right?
yeah, I was a sporty girl. And my ballet teacher hated it. She was like, she had all these other girls who were like 5'5", 5'6", really skinny. And then all of a sudden you have this short, muscular girl. And she's like, what am I going to do with you? But I was still the one getting the highest mark in my examinations in ballet. So I still excelled, maybe because of my athleticism that I was able to hold my own 2 feet really well. I wasn't the most flexible, but I was the strongest, you know, physically. And so when I was 13, I did musical theater. I decided to audition out of the blue. I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna get it. I don't sing. I don't act. Let's play around. And I got in, and I got a role. So I'm like, oh, great, this is awesome. And I continued, and that's where I started learning jazz. So I found this company. It's called MT Jazz. It's a very small company in Hong Kong, but the owner of the company was actually my choreographer for the musical that I did, and he invited me. Yo, do you want to learn some jazz? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, I want to broaden my horizon. I don't see myself being a ballerina, but I see myself potentially being a dancer. So if I want to dance, it's good to know every style. It's good to know every technique, you know? So I pursued it. I went to learn jazz. So I learned classical jazz and I learned jazz funk hip hop, which is really popular today now. So I'm glad that I know a bit of that. And then when I moved to Australia, I had a year where I just didn't dance because I had my public exams. And I'm glad that I did because I aced it. I went to college. Then from there, I discovered breakdancing. A lot of people don't see me as a breakdancer. I'm a girl. I have a feminine voice. I have long hair. I did ballet. What the heck? All of a sudden, you're on the streets, you know? But it's true. In our college campus, it's a very huge outdoor space. Shout out to University of New South Wales. And there's a space right under this building. And it was my second day of school, my second day. And I remember seeing these dudes just doing handstands and doing flips. And I'm like, dude, this is cool. And I stood there for like a solid 10 minutes. And I'm like, do I want to go over? Do I want to go over? Do I want to go over? And I did. I walked over and I'm like, this is cool. Can you teach me? And funny enough, one of them was from Taiwan. And he found out that I was from Hong Kong and we spoke Mandarin fluently. So that's how I got into breakdancing. It was from multicultural exchange. It was from this dude that I was able to speak Mandarin with. So he taught me how to do handstands. He taught me how to do freezes. He taught me how to do breakdancing. I did that for like, I think I did it for 2.5 years. So I would just be in the street
You're good
with
at
one boy.
it.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't just at uni as well. It was at other places too. They had other. It was a huge. There's a huge breakdancing hip hop community in Sydney, and it's really cool. You know, we have a really famous breakdancing competition in the Southeast Asia area, and I never entered it. No, not close to good enough. But that was like at the time I would hang out in those communities. You know, I would wear baggy shirts, sneakers, and you know. But it comes to a point that similar to my ballet, I knew it's not my thing. I'm strong, but I'm not that strong. These people are able to spin on their head. They're
Yeah, I
full
seen
time.
it.
They don't give a shit, you know. And I'm like, I don't want that, you know. But I'm glad that I learned it because later on, two of my best friends in college, they're like, hey, we're about to take a salsa class. So there's a Latin dance society in college, and they're like, we're about to learn salsa. And I look at them going like, ha, what a joke, me in high heels. Yeah, no way. And I had a boy cut at the time, so I had really short hair. I had a shaved side. I was a tomboy to the T. And they're like, nah, come over, have some fun. I'm like, okay. I as soon as I finished that first salsa class, I was cool. It was an absolute beginner class, just basic steps, right hand turn. But then I couldn't find myself getting away from it. So I started off as a salsa dancer. And then the school that I'm teaching in now, or that I work for now at Tropical Soul, they held auditions for a bachata team. And my same friends, they were like, hey, go do it. I'm like, nah, man, nah. Like, I only know salsa. And I started off one of those prejudiced people. You either salsa or bachata. And bachata central, eel, salsa. I was one of those. I was very narrow minded at the time. But my teacher Juan, he saw me at the auditions and he gave me a call. Like he gave me a phone call, not a text message. And he looked at me and he goes, well, "How do you think you went with your audition?" And I was like, "I think I was terrible. I have no bachata. I have no movement in the hips. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't understand why you're calling me." And he's like, "Well, yeah, your technique shit." He straight up said that your technique shit, but you're a very fast learner, and I
Yeah, but
see
I mean,
potential.
but you're probably willing to learn, so that's all that matters, right?
Exactly. Yeah. He saw that I was willing to learn. And I was the only person in the group. He said, "You were the only person who got the pattern the first time. Everyone else took like 5 minutes just to suss out the pattern and get it right. You got it right the first time." He's like, and it was a partner work routine. So he's like, "So you're in the team, but you got to come to class. You got to do all these classes. We are going to be training 2 days a week. Good luck."
Okay, all right.
And,
Okay, so hold on. I want to hear about all this. I definitely want to hear about all this.
oh, okay.
I
Cool.
do really, but let me ask you this though. So when did you start salsa? Like how long ago? What year?
So I started salsa 2016.
Okay. So let me ask you this then. Going back to 2016, what was your beginner stage like?
Oh God, it was terrible. Like, I look back and I was definitely a massive back leader. So it sucks because I did all this ballet. So every time I did my right hand turn, there was no lead. I was like, "Yep, I got you." I did the turn by myself. I was one of those crossbody lead. I would just walk straight through the dude, and there's no connection. And I thought I was doing the right thing. I
That's
had
part of learning how to follow, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. I thought I was doing the correct thing. And it wasn't until I started going social dancing. And my teacher runs a social dancing night. So for anyone in Sydney, it's called Off Broadway Hotel on a Monday night. It's one of the longest social nights held ever in the city. It's great. And good music, good salsa. The chat was okay, but the drinks are cheap. So my teacher runs this night. He's the DJ, he's the organizer, and I went to social dance and I danced with him. And he looked at me dead in the eye and he said, "Go back to your basics. You are not following anything, but I want you to do so well and I believe in you. Go back to your basics." So I redid a beginner's class maybe 2 3 times just to be able to understand this is a lead, this is a follow before I went up to intermediate, which is crazy. But I'm very glad that he said that to me. His name's Graham, by the way. I'm glad that Graham actually took the chance to be like, "I love you, but your dancing sucks. Please work on it." And I appreciated that honesty that motivated me to keep and up to a stage where I feel like I can social dance. I can feel like I can sleep and I can dance at the same time. But that's basically what a follow is. You're basically half asleep, but your body is already responsive to what's going on, which is great. So yeah, that journey was very interesting. And I
Oh,
don't dance in my first pair of high heels
hey.
till I got into that comp team, till that bachata.
Okay. Well, real quick, let me ask you this, because
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of people out there who have that same issue. Uh, hold on, my phone's going off. Sorry about that. There
God love.
are. I was saying that there's a lot of people out there who are going through that same issue, where they're having difficulties following, or they're backleading themselves. So let me ask you
Mm.
this, Dan, to give value to someone listening. I guess how were you able to become a better follow and maybe stop backleading? Is there any words of advice you could give to someone to help them?
This is great because I have a lot of people who come to my classes today and they start off as ballroom dancers, ballet dancers. Um, but their social dancing is not there because they're not understanding it. So what I would say, like, or what helps me is just first of all go social dancing. Like the more you dance with different people, the more you understand that this is no longer something that is entirely in your control. This is a couples dance. So if you're just going to class and you're understanding the moves, but you're not actually using them in the right context, there's no point. So go out and find the right social night. It's as terrifying as it is, especially for beginners who are transitioning from one style to another. Really important because you're knowing the culture, because you're knowing what it's like there. So give give yourself a leap of faith. Don't be scared. I was one of those who would hide in the corner as well and have no dances in one night. To someone who is confident to ask people for dances. So my first advice is to go social dancing a lot. You gotta put yourself out there and actually experience what it's actually like in the field. That textbook can't teach you. The other thing that I definitely suggest is actually getting private help. So for me, I took some private lessons as well, and that helped me a lot. But it's about finding the right teacher. So I'm very lucky that my first bachata teacher and my first salsa teacher, they both had a big emphasis in social media. Some teachers they tell you, "Oh, do this choreography or do this," which is pre-learned. You learn it and you repeat it. But that's not what it's supposed to be. Social dancing you can't repeat. You dance with the same guy, same song.
And you can't anticipate either, right?
Exactly, you can't. So I sought private help, and the way that they taught me was really really good. Like that would be a huge rant altogether. That might take like about 30 minutes or so. But the most important thing that they told me is, especially for follow, the most important is to keep your timing. Everything comes down to your feet. Like your arms need to be as relaxed as possible. So a lot of people think especially for ballet dancers, because our whole body is so controlled. So we're used to having our arms being placed in certain positions rather than being active. You know, so they trained me a lot in terms of relaxing my arms and actually letting my legs and my hips do the work. And that's an extra emphasis on bachata for hips. For salsa, it's the footwork and the timing. As long as you're able to hold your own, say if you lose connection, you're still able to do your basic, then it's fine. And I know a lot of people they think, oh, I'm doing great because I can copy your basic step. And I say to them, no, it's not about copying. It's about knowing or listening to a song and you're able to identify where your hit is or where you're supposed to step. This is something that you got to learn on your own. Um, this is not something that you think, oh, I go to one class, I copy the teacher, and I get it. So, and then the third, so that's one. So no, that's two. So one is social dance. Two is get private lessons with the right teachers, and for me, three is listen to a shit ton of music. A lot of music. At first I was skeptical because I'm like, I don't understand Spanish. Like out of all the Asian languages I know, I don't know. No hablo español. Did I say that right?
Yeah, that's right, exactly. But yeah, no hablas español, pero and when you listen to the music, you get comfortable with it and you start to notice the pattern in the music, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you also start finding yourself or what kind of music that you like, which is the fun part. And that for me, it's like you want to get it right. You want to do it right. But it's also important that you want to have fun. Like if you're forcing yourself to do something right, then and you're not having fun with it, then find another hobby. Then this is not you. But if you're listening to the music and you're like, hey, this is my jam, this is my groove, or you listen to this bachata and I'm like, oh my God, I don't understand the words, but it's so soft, it's so gentle. Or if you're listening to Dominican, which is crazy, and you go to the mumble section and you're like, hey, 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 and you it's a bit like a
I,
merengue.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's no greater feeling than like when the DJ puts on your favorite song.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. For me, I get the biggest hit when I listen to Wawanko.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
a very
Salsa.
popular one. Yeah.
Like it's so it's so dirty. Like you kind of feel like you're a hustler. You know what I mean? Like outside you look nice and pretty. You look like a wallflower, and you're like, "Hey, what's up, girl?" But then you get down to the instrument. You listen to the double bass in particular, and you're like, "Damn, this is like she ain't playing nice." Which I really love.
Hey, let me ask you this real quick. So you kind of spoke on already. You have this vast background in all these different dancing genres, dancing styles.
Yeah.
When you were learning salsa and bachata, do you think that previous experience, do you think that hindered you or did it benefit you when learning the Latin styles?
Ooh. That's a good question. It hindered me from the start. It hindered me in the beginning as someone who has never done salsa bachata before, because like I said, all the back leading, the differences in technique, which is leading from the hips, leading from the legs, compared to all this ballet and jazzy styles where everything was all about your lines. But when I started performing and I started becoming a teacher and doing cabaret, suddenly it started to become a huge, huge benefit. I can't emphasize it enough because ballet is all in your core strength, and cabaret, you're in the air. You don't have your 2 feet on the ground holding you. The only thing that you can do is hold your core. The only thing that you can do is create a good line, and it helped me a lot, insanely. And on top of that, when you're performing, you want to find the line with you and your partner, or say if you're doing a shine team, you want to find the best shape as much as possible. And the good thing about doing jazz and ballet and all that is they're all about having the team doing the same shape at the same time. So when I started doing shine teams and I started doing all those, it benefited me in a way that I was easy enough to understand. Oh, okay, they're doing this shape, which is this muscle, this muscle, this muscle. I got you, and it was fine. So a lot of my performances, a lot of people come to me and they say, "Oh, you have really good lines," but they don't look at me and say, "You look like a ballerina," and that's a good thing. You don't want it's a for me it's offensive. So if someone comes to you and say like you dance with salsa bachata, you say, "Oh, you look like a ballerina," and I'm like, "But I'm not doing ballet." Like for me, it's offensive in a way that it's a wake up call. It means that you need to start translating things that you know from your old dance experience into this new style that you're learning. And you want people to be like, "I've seen that you've done ballet, but your salsa, your bachata is awesome." So you
Right.
want to phrase it that way, you
I
know?
said I said you're probably all that background information it helps contribute to your own style, right?
Yeah. And a lot of artists that I look up to, they've done different styles of dance as
Yeah, like
well.
cross training, right?
Yeah, not just cross training, but for example, I love Carol Flores, and she still goes to Broadway Dance Company just to take ballet and stretching classes. So it's actually super um, helpful to know these techniques. It's about knowing how to apply them. So it was a hinder as a beginner because at the time I didn't know how to use them. At the time I thought, okay, I have the ballet training, I can slot into any styles, no problem. But it's not the case. It's about first knowing this new style, knowing the culture, knowing the um, what makes it different. Knowing that this lead and follow system, it's not like anything you've seen before. It's not anything that you've danced before. And then when it becomes second nature, you can start putting in things that you know. You can start fancying it up. You can start making it prettier, or heck, you might start making it easier for yourself. But you need to know your timings first. You need to know the music. You need to know the style in its core
Right.
first before you
Yeah,
start acting.
I say, yeah, you got to learn the rules before you can break them, right?
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Um, let me. Oh, I had a question for you. I had a question for you. Shucks. Oh man, I have a really good question for you. What was I gonna ask you? Dang it.
Oh no.
Oh, okay, bingo. I remember it. All right. So you told me that when you were younger, your parents were very strict on the school and education and everything.
Oh yeah.
How did they react when you decided to pursue dancing as your career or as your and I guess your main thing?
Oh man, I was waiting for that one to come up eventually. They reacted badly. They weren't happy. Actually, I remember growing up, and they would use not taking me to ballet class as a punishment. Like I don't, they lock me in my bedroom. I don't care. Not feed me dinner. I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't give a sweat. I'm like, yeah, yeah, go ahead. But the moment they say that's it, I'm not driving you to ballet class, I would be on my knees dance like pouring, going like, "No, mom, dad, please!" And I'd be begging, because that was what I loved. And as I continued growing up, I think that they were supportive in a way that they expected it to be a hobby that would fade away. So they still paid and they were still happy to financially fund my dance class. They were still happy to continue jazz and all that because they're like, yeah, it's good for her to get the exercise, but now she's not going to take it seriously. Then I went to college and I found and I wasn't just dancing. Like I did some videography work. I know a tiny bit of videography. I know how to cut music, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. And when I told my parents this is kind of what I want to pursue, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a choreographer. I want to be an all-rounded professional in salsa and bachata. They looked at me kind of a little bit skeptical. They're like, "Ha, what a joke." Um, but they didn't stop. I was I'm now 24. So I first told my parents when I was 21. I started dancing salsa bachata when I was 21. And at first they were like, "Oh, it's a joke. It's a new hobby that she's picking up." They wanted me to prove them wrong, or otherwise they wanted to have themselves proven right. So, and I'm glad to say right now because I now have tropical soul. Like, they are. I'm getting mentored. I'm getting paid for my work, and I'm happy to say like I'm doing what I love for a living.
That's so
It's a
awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It's a start, but it's so much potential, and it's always more relieving to tell your parents you have a career rather than you have a job. And I think my parents right now, they're not. At the end of the day, they'll never be fully because of the values and the way that they were brought up, which I don't blame them at all. But I think and I hope that they can start trusting me that I know what I'm doing for myself. Because I don't want to go out there and find a white collar job and just get the money, go home. I want something that fulfills me. So I can tell my parents, this is my career. This is not my job. This is something that I want to do for the rest of my life. It's something that I want to invest in. And I will never get their full support, but in a way, I also know that I don't need it doesn't bother me anymore. Like because this is what I know what I want. This is what's keeping me happy, keeping me healthy. And they are, so for now at the moment they have an attitude going like, well, whatever you think is right, go for it. If you fall, we'll catch you. We're your parents, but they'll never have the full satisfaction that their daughter is a dancer. But it's there's certain things that hinder it, but there are also certain things that they know they can do to support it. And so they're in a kind of a gray zone. But it's something that it's something for us three, my both my parents and I, to kind of talk and find amongst ourselves. And I've spoken to other teachers that I know around Sydney as well, or and in the United States, and they told me they had the same thing. They had parents where they were like, "Huh, what a joke! Don't even try. Not a sustainable career." But then they prove them wrong. They find money. They get all these sponsors, and the parents just leave them be. They kind of silently acknowledge, okay, there's no stopping you. Go for it. We'll be on the sideline, and we'll be there if you need us. That
No,
kind
I think that's really cool, and I think it kind of I think it speaks to you as a person, like that you, even at such a young age, you were able to put your happiness first.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
it,
super important. That's very, very important.
I knew from the start I wanted to do something that I love for my job. I refuse to do something that is just for the money. 100.
That's that's super duper important. That's really, that speaks to you as a person that you were able to recognize that so young. That's really amazing. Because there are a lot of people who who got that 9 to 5, and they they've done it for so long that they're caught up in it now, but they're not happy.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that's that'd
I
be a
know.
big, yeah. So
Sad, but that's the world we live in sometimes, you
mm,
know?
yeah.
And like in the for anyone who wants to do anything that they love, or especially in terms of salsa and bachata, you gotta network, you gotta know the right people, you gotta know the style well, and that comes down to like when you're a beginner, you gotta do the right things for yourself. You gotta social dance, take lessons if you actually want, if you're taking it seriously, listen to the music a lot, a lot, a lot. I listen to it every day. I always researching what new tracks, and I ain't no DJ. So when I'm in class and I'm like, I want to play this new song, I want to tell my students, hey, by the way, this is the latest salsa music that just came out. There's a new album or there's a new band in Sydney.
Guys, what you were telling me, some of the things that you learned from dancing that you're able to use in your everyday life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So first thing is social communication skills and networking skills. Like I've learned that from salsa and bachata, you're not dancing. You're no longer alone. You know, you dance ballet, you dance jazz, you hold yourself. You know, you fuck up, your mistake. But when you're dancing salsa and bachata, it's such a strong sense of teamwork. You know, you need a good follow, you need a good lead, and you need good music. So it's a combination of all these things that makes it strong, that makes it so special and so fun. So, and it applies to my everyday life in a way that it opened my eyes to see that I'm not alone, you know, especially growing up wanting to be a dance professional. I always thought this is going to be hard because I'm going to have, it's a it's a one man battle, but it's not. I'm very happy to have my two mentors at Tropical Soul. I have Josie Cote and Juan Ruiz. They are the best teachers I've had. I'm very glad that I have people like Graham and all the friends around me who are always giving me advice, who are always telling me, hey, check this out, check this video, helping me with my research, giving me new songs. Like I have a lot of people that I know that I can rely on. And it's crazy because these people are technically strangers, but because of dancing, they're no longer strangers. They're friends. They're people that I can trust, and that's really cool. So that's the big thing. It's about learning how to trust and socialize with people that you normally wouldn't. Because when you social dance, you don't know who you're dancing with. You don't know their names, but you know that you can rely on them for the next 3 minutes to give you the best dance ever. So yeah, that's for me how I see it in my daily life, and it's so
Okay.
powerful.
Of course, of course. Um, Let me ask you this real quick. So a lot of people have full-time jobs that are not their hobbies. So
Yeah.
so let me ask you this. What are some things that people may not know about the life of a full-time dancer?
Ah, okay. That's very interesting because I only started properly doing this full time maybe like what we're now in November, right? October 8th was the official day that I started dancing full time. So it's the day where I decided I'm gonna dance full time. It's the date that I'm gonna remember for the rest of my life. So it's not that long ago, but one of the big differences or one of the big misconceptions is people think that all we know how to do is dance. That is a big no no. Like right now, to survive in a dance industry, you have to have so many skills. You don't have to have all of them, but you need to know your career pathway and what you want to become and get the skills towards that. And that's something that I'm trying to find for myself now. But while I don't know, I'm still trying to get all the skills I can. So that includes social media marketing. You need to know how to use Facebook, use Instagram to your benefit. And sometimes you're going to have to pay for the promotion. Use Google. Google right now is the big thing. You go to Sydney, people obviously they want to look for salsa and bachata. They're going to Google it, or they're going to go on Facebook, search for it. So same thing. Um, DJing. Oh, sorry, my hand got shaky. But DJing and editing skills. A lot of people don't know how to edit music, and it frustrates me when I look at a competition. Your choreography is amazing, but then the cut in the music, the timing doesn't match, and I'm like, this should be something that you get deducted for. If you're a professional, you need to know how the music flows. You need to research the lyrics to make sure that the flow of the choreography still makes sense to what the song is actually being sung about. So that's another skill that is really basic, and there's so many more. Like you need to know how to well, you need teaching itself is already a skill, and it's not an easy skill. And I learned that the hard way because I picked up teaching very, very quickly, and then I started needing to mentor people into teaching. So I had male leads who were my assistants, and I would lead the class. And I realized, oh wow, it's not really like some people, for them it comes to them very naturally, for some it doesn't. So you need to know that. So um, and the other thing is, a lot of people think that it's easy. A lot of people think that, all you have to do is dance, be creative, you're fine. Not easy. It's a lot of networking. It's a lot of hard work behind the scenes. We have a saying in China or in Hong Kong and just in the Chinese language, and it basically means a minute on stage reflects 10 years of hard work.
Oh, that's so
So
true. I like that.
yeah, it's a lot to do behind the scenes. Like even if you look at one choreography, 3 minutes on stage, how long it's taken for that teacher to choreograph that thing, let alone teach it to students, and all that. Like at the end of the day, it's not about the money. It's about, you want to make it look good. You want to make it meaningful. You want to make your students feel like, I want to come back and learn more. And that's the most gratifying thing. So a lot of people think it's easy. It's something that you just need to know how to dance and that's it. It's totally not true. Right now, and especially with technology, you need to know how to use your technology to the T a lot. And right now, at Tropical Soul, where I'm working, I actually do most of their marketing work. So a lot of things I have to learn how to use Photoshop. Sometimes I use Canva from time to time, but I need to learn how to edit, and I need to learn how to use all these softwares, because if you're not able to sell the school, who's going to come? It's not just about your quality of work. You also need to put a name out there. So that's really important. So yeah,
That's
those are
super
the
important.
main
Yes, of course,
skills
having
that
an
I
online
need.
presence.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And the internet has just changed the social dance world a lot. Like, for example, you look at Bachata Central and you look at Bachata Fusion and how big it is today. And I had a speculation about this with my teacher Juan. And one of the things, that it's not just the dancing that makes them super famous online. It's not just the dancing that books them gigs. It's the presence. It's the fact that they upload every workshop that they have. They're basically dance vloggers. They film their daily lives. You look at Daniel Desiree, they film their baby girl. Abril everywhere. You look at Carol Flores, and she shares her holidays with her boyfriend.
Okay,
So
you become kind of like, I guess, invested in that person, right? Is that what it is?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this is what's trending now. People don't want to just see the dancer, they want to see the person. So, but that itself, again, is a misconception, like, which is, you just dance and that's it. It's not. People want to know you. People want to know what your life is like and all that. They want to know your routines. They want to know what you're eating for breakfast. Like, it's crazy. So it's a whole new trend together. Your pot dancer and pot vlogger or pot YouTuber in some sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it's
And so
not
I guess,
a job.
yeah, I guess really, you're creating your own brand, though, right? You as a dancer, you're
Yeah.
creating a brand, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's all about. It comes down to branding, and it's also about, I guess, finding the balance between being genuine to your audience and your viewers, and also knowing what's you. You know, because I know there are some people, they have a online face and it's just fake as hell. I look at them and, like, because I know them behind the scenes, and I'm like, girl, that ain't you. Like, that is so not you. But um, nowadays, that's why a lot of people, or a lot of the most successful people, are the ones who are the most genuine on the camera, and you can tell that they're not faking it on the camera. You know, because when you meet them in real life, or a lot of artists, when they, for example, I have Marco and Sarah, they have a big Instagram follow. They're basically now the new Daniel and Desiree of bachata, you know. And then they came to Australia, and then I see them in person, and they're identical to what they show online.
That's awesome.
This is great. You know, this is what you want. You want to be able to follow them online, and then when you see them real life, you know it's real and you know it's genuine.
Yeah, yeah,
So
genuine. That always wins.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's a big it's very complicated, but if you are always genuine with what you do, if you have a very um if you have a genuine and a very passionate brand, then people are gonna follow you. It's just a matter of time, it's a matter of knowing the right people and having the right skills. And
Right.
dancing alone is not gonna get you
Takes more, right?
there. Yeah, it's a bunch of things all together to
Right.
make it happen,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. So let me ask you this real quick then. I guess how would you how would you define success for yourself? And maybe you already feel successful. So like do you have any future goals? Like what are some future goals you have? How would you
Mm,
define success for yourself?
yeah. So on a tangible level, success for myself is to say that this is a sustainable career in a way that I'm getting, you know, stable salary, stable work, and which I don't have all of them right now. I'm happy to say that stable salary is one that is ticked off the books, so which means I can still pay my rent, I can still pay my bills, and
That's
that's super
awesome.
important, you know.
That is
Yes,
very important. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So it's for me, yeah, I want to be sustainable in a way that, first of all, I don't need to worry about my rent and all that, but I can also invest in things towards my health. So I still don't have like a proper um health insurance, which I think is proper for a dance career yet. I'm still kind of on the basic healthcare. But good thing about Australia is that free healthcare. Yeah. So I wanna be at a place though where I can still afford better insurance for myself. Say if I have an injury, or I've actually, like, because of all the dancing that I do now, I've had a couple of sprains. I had a dislocation in the knee, which I'm recovering. So, but these are stuff that you gotta watch out for, you know. So I want to look towards that. The other big goal that I want to do is I want to become a director of either an existing school or set up my own school. And I haven't quite found what I want to properly do yet in the salsa and bachata career. At the moment, the short term goal is to be able to do as many as possible. The long term goal is to be able to continue to educate, you know, because it's about, because that your legacy in dancing, or your legacy in anything you do, comes down to education. So I want to have the resources to be able to do something similar to what my mentors now are doing to me. They are paying me a salary, they're hiring me for work, but they're also mentoring me every step of the way. They're supporting my dancing. They are sponsoring me from going to festival when I go to festivals, so I don't have to buy passes. I can teach, which is great. And I want to be at a level where, when I'm ahead of my own school, or if I'm ahead of an existing school, maybe Tropical Soul, who knows? I want to be able to provide the same experience, the same learning journey to someone else who is in the future, who might be just as passionate, but they don't know where they want to go. And I'm like, I want to show them the reins. I want to do that same thing. For me, that's
Uh,
the bigger long term goal.
that's awesome.
It's
That's
a
awesome.
very big answer, you know. It's
Oh, that's
not.
perfect. That's perfect. Like I said, that's perfect. You have a goal in mind though, of where you want to go, where you're headed, which is so important.
Yeah, like don't do anything without a purpose. Don't do anything without a goal. It's so
Nah,
that is don't. And that's why some people like they do it, but they hate it, but they want to do it well. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Go find something else. I've had students who come to me and they say to me, "Oh, like I'm actually not that comfortable with salsa and bachata, but their girlfriend does it, their friends do it." And I'm like, "Okay, so why are you doing it?" They're like, "Because I feel the pressure. I want to do it well because they're doing it so well." And I've actually been honest because the last thing that I want to see is a student that is unhappy. The last thing I want to
Right,
see is
right. Why do it if you're not happy?
exactly, like it's not for everyone. Some people they are not comfortable with dancing with other people. And I look at them and I go like, this is not your thing. I'm like, no stress. You don't have to make it your thing, even if your friends
Right.
are telling you that.
And
You
so, and
know,
so
I
you have to be honest with yourself, right? First, be honest
yeah,
with yourself and what you want.
yeah, exactly. And that also kind of relates to what we said about branding before. If I'm genuine that with myself, then hopefully I can, or then hopefully we can inspire people because I speak with on a very low level, but I know a lot of professionals they found their own genuine branding. Then hopefully people who have just entered the scene can find their own genuine voice as well.
And
And if it doesn't speak to them, it doesn't.
and
There's no.
I'll say real quick though, people can also tell when you're faking it. It might take them a while. You might be really good at faking it, but eventually they'll figure it out and they'll see that you're not authentic. You're not being genuine with it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Of course, of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Real quick, I want to ask you this question.
Mhm.
And I don't want to hold you up too much longer, but um, can you give me one tip that can make anyone a better dancer immediately?
That's a. In- so I'm picking up on the details on your question here just to make sure. So one tip to become a better dancer immediately.
Instantly. Give me one tip that can make me a better dancer right now.
Listen to a hell ton of music. That's the biggest advice that I can give.
That's perfect.
Yeah, because this style, a lot of people is like, oh yeah, this style originated from this, originated from that. But even when I teach in tropical soul, we are trained or we know that none of the dance styles would have existed if it weren't for the music, if it weren't for the basic percussion. So those little rhythms are what started the movement. If you don't understand the music, you're not going to understand the dance. If you don't understand the history of the music, you're not going to understand the dance. So if you want to get better right away, listen to hell ton of music, like non-stop, back to back. And that's what I did when I first started salsa bachata, and I started seeing that there was a potential career. I just went on that YouTube, I went on Spotify, and I listened to a bunch of music. I didn't care if it was crappy or not. I didn't care if it was old school or not. I didn't care what band it was. I just listened because it helped me understand the rhythm of it. I did my research through listening, and that was it. And I spoke no Spanish, but sometimes you don't have to speak Spanish to learn how to dance.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
have to speak
exactly.
Spanish to understand the music, which is great.
That's so true. That's so true. I guess at this point I want to just thank you, Kelsey, for taking time to talk to me.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. Wow. So we delved into a lot of things. Like we had like social political stuff in Hong Kong, and then we got to all these dancing tips and all the dance history that I have. But it's great. Like, thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. I'm so glad I got to talk to you, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really do. Do me a quick favor. Tell me, what are some of your upcoming events? What do you have going on in your life?
Okay. So, at the moment, I'm based in Sydney, duh. So, we're gonna. Whoa, no, I'm back in Hong Kong, man, just in the flash. Nah. So, right now, I'm about to compete in the World Salsa Solo in Brisbane in December. So I have a number of routines, and I also have some freestyle competitions coming up. So, very excited for that. Have you heard of Mr. Don in Bachata?
I have not.
Well, have you heard of DJ Khaled?
I have definitely, yeah.
Well, not the DJ Khaled that we know, not
Oh,
the one in the
all
pop
right.
out.
Well, then I have
There's
not
a
heard the DJ
different
Cat.
It's
I
all
bet.
right. So we have bachata DJ. So his name is Mr. Don. He has I think one of his most famous songs you type on YouTube is called Hookah and Sheridan. Really good bachata song. So he's
I'll
gonna be
check it
coming
out.
to Sydney. Yeah, he's gonna be coming to Sydney, and I got invited to teach the pre-party workshop, and then I'm gonna be performing there as well, which is super cool. And then what else is there? Mm, And then next year, well, I that's for me for the upcoming year. And then what I'm planning for next year is I'm gonna be going to Mumble because I wanna expand my horizons. So far, I've only been dancing in Sydney. I want to start dancing overseas. So I wanna learn from the best of the best. So I'm gonna go to Mumble Milan in April. And I have a friend of mine. His name's Enzo, and he's gonna try and get me to I think it's called the Queer Latin Dance Festival in Oakland, San Francisco. I forgot the exact name, but have because yeah, because I'm not gonna delve into that today, but I'm LGBT as well, so it's great that I can represent, and it also kind of challenges me to want to learn how to lead and follow and learn every aspect of Latin dancing as well.
Oh,
So
that
it's
makes
really
you a
really
better
cool.
dancer right there, though. Learning to lead
Yeah,
and follow.
yeah, and when you teach, you gotta learn how to do
Of
both.
course, of course.
Like I teach a male student, I can't just go like just lead. You can't tell your student that. That's ridiculous.
No, that's
So
so
you
true.
gotta
That's so true.
yeah, you gotta be able to tell them, ooh, like loosen up on the thumb. Oh, don't forget to drop your hands. Make sure to prepare properly. Like you gotta know these things. So very excited. Next year I'm planning to travel a lot more. So it's a good start. And now that I'm at the financial state that I can go and travel, so I want to make use of it while I can, which is awesome.
Real quick. So you're teaching at Tropical Soul, right?
Yeah.
What is your teaching schedule? Monday through Friday, or
Yeah. So I teach on Mondays. I teach the intermediate classes. So I teach. So we have salsas 1 to 6. So I teach salsa level 4, and I teach salsa level 2. So I teach begin. I'm teaching the beginners advanced. No, sorry, beginners intermediate and the intermediate level. Bachata, I teach the top level, level 6, with my man Juan Ruiz. So it's really really fun. And then on Wednesdays and Thursdays, I teach the beginners level. So I teach absolute beginners salsa, absolute beginners bachata. And occasionally, I do teach the taster workshop. So for anyone who has never danced ever in their lives, but they don't know whether they want to invest in a proper 6 week course, we do 2 hour workshops every 6 weeks. And it just kind of gives people like a little taste of what salsa, bachata, and merengue is. We teach all 3 styles. We get them to dance them, and then from there they can decide if this is for them or this is not, which is really really cool. You
this? That's
sometimes you
really
just need
cool.
that little push.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Um, tell me this real quick. How can people get in contact with you? How can they reach out to you?
So you can hit me up on Facebook. So my name is Kelsi Chow. So that's Kelsi. My name is spelled really weirdly, so don't find any other Kelsi. It's someone else. So Kelsi Chow. You can find me on Instagram. My name is dancefreak_KLC. Very weird name, but it's cool. And also, you can follow us at Tropical Soul Dance on Instagram and Tropical Soul Dance Studio on the page. So I'm at the moment technically speaking, I'm the business manager of the school. So if whenever you're sending an email, you're talking to me. So feel free to hit me an email there as well. We do private lessons, wedding dance lessons, and we have weekly classes to make you a better dancer. I do teach my own choreographies. The school teaches choreography. So if you want to, and we have a lot of social events, which is the most important thing. We have plenty of chances for you to go out dancing. So we have a party, I think, every 2 weeks, which is super cool. Yeah, and then we have the Sydney International Bachata Festival, which the owner of the school actually is the founder of, which is the first ever bachata festival in the world. In case you didn't know that,
I did
the
not know.
Sydney,
That's
the
awesome.
Sydney Bachata Festival was the first bachata festival in the world, only for bachata, and
That's
then everyone
awesome.
else followed. Yeah, so I'm gonna put a plug for that as well because I'll be running that and helping out with those as well. I might be performing and teaching a workshop there too. So yeah, find me on Facebook, find me on Instagram. You can hit me with a direct message, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, like I said, Kelsey, I really want to thank you so much, for taking time out today to talk to me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for your questions. Like, super cool, man.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can really tell, how passionate you are, about dancing for general for one, and and then Latin, salsa and bachata, for two. I can tell how passionate you are.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Of course,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
really, really love it so much, and it's so weird. You have a Hong Kong person living in Australia,
Right.
dancing salsa and bachata. Like how much more multicultural can you get? This is
Right.
crazy.
Seriously. And so I'll say this, I interview a lot of dancers, and what I find is that a lot of dancers they definitely have a background in salsa, and what I also find is that salsa is just it's everywhere. It's not just American, it's not just Australia, it's all the continents, everywhere all across the globe they dance salsa, which is so impressive.
Oh yeah, I love it. Like I have some of my students. They go like, "Hey, I need to go here for work. I'm planning to go here for work holiday. Where do I go dance?" And I can immediately go this place, check out this person, check out that person, go to this class, go to that class. Like it's so big, and because of technology now, because of social media, it's so easy to be connected with each other around the world, and it's so much better to, it's so much more convenient and more proud to say that this is a global community rather than having segmented kind of little local salsa clubs and all that. This is a entire world loving this style, and there's no discrimination, there's no age group, there's no stereotypes. We just dance, and this is beautiful. It's a gorgeous thing.
That is so true, so true. That's why we do it. We enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you dance? I'm curious now.
Okay, I mean, to be honest with you, I've been dancing salsa for the past 7 8 years.
Oh damn.
Yeah, so I've been dancing salsa for the past 7 8 years. At some point, I transitioned into bachata, then transitioned into kizomba, and then transitioned into Brazilian zouk.
Oh shit.
Yeah, yeah. But right now, my favorite is kizomba. I absolutely love kizomba.
I'm
Yeah.
planning to learn because we have Kazomba instructors. So it's another Asian dude actually, an Australian
Ah,
born um Asian, and his name's Kev. And we have a French female instructor named Audrey, and they're trying to drag me to learn Kazumba as well. So I
okay.
had my first Kazumba social dance about 2 weeks ago, so I'm like, okay, maybe I'll check it out.
Hey, hey. I've actually interviewed some kizomba instructors in Australia, so I need to link you up with them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely. Yeah.
is one of them like Genevieve or something?
No, her name is Amaryllis.
Ah, yeah, I've heard of her.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
She's really good. She's really good.
yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
what I find is that the dance community, it's kind of small. Everyone kind of knows everyone.
Yeah. And Sydney, man, I mean, like we're like on our side of the globe, and we have a tiny community, but it's growing. It's growing fast. And the funny thing is, each style of dance, they're claiming that their style is taking over, but there isn't really one. Like bachata, like because I have two of my mentors. One of them is all the way salsa, salsa on two, New York style. And I love New York style as well. And then my other one, Juan. So Josie salsa, Juan is all the way bachata. So one of them is saying salsa's taking over, the other one saying bachata's taking over, and I'm in the middle going like, why not both? you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like they both fit together so
Of
nicely.
course, yeah. Especially when you go
And
to salsa, they're gonna play both genres.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I find also like lately there's in Sydney in particular, there's a lot more parties where it's like single style, and then they have a second room.
That's
And
really cool. That's really cool. I like that.
yeah, it's good for a little bit, but in time you kind of feel like I don't want to go from room to room just to listen to both styles of music. I want to listen to both in the same room. I want to be able to sit
Ah,
down or dance, and I want to be able to pace myself. For
okay.
me, bachata is kind of the more relaxing one. Salsa, especially when they play kind of the hardcore, guaguancó and all the funny all stars kind of band stuff, and you just want to go all out. So you want to pace yourself in the same way. You can't. I get you. I love having just salsa all the way all night. I love having bachata. You want to stay in the same mood, but sometimes you want. I like it when they change it up a little bit.
course, yeah,
So
the variety is what makes it better.
yeah, exactly. So when there's parties that they say like 2-2 rotation or 3-2 rotation, I love it.
I
You know?
definitely understand that. I definitely do.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, there's Kazumba is like, we still have our room. In Sydney, it like Kizomba and Zouk always have their own room.
Right,
Always have.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because they use in a way that they use less space, but it's also like I, but it goes well with bachata, but not so with salsa for the music, because it's the
Exactly.
same kind of tone, same kind of flow. But still, like that, I wouldn't mind going into that room. You know, for me, salsa
Yeah,
bachata is a good mix, and then bachata, kazumba, and zouk all together, which I think.
exactly. And I definitely understand that. I definitely
Yeah.
understand that. So yeah, like I said, Kelsey, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you. It's really fun. Thank you
Of
for
course,
having
of
me.
course, of course, of course. When I upload this, I'm gonna make sure I put all your contact information and the details below. I got you on that. All right.
Yeah, thank you so much. That'd be great.
Hey, of course, of course.
Can't wait to see
So yeah, like I said, thank you so much, Kelsey. Of course, yes, of course.
it.
So I think this will do it for this episode of the Two Lift Feet podcast. Thank you so much, Miss Kelsey. Ciao.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.
That's all it is. Hey everyone! If you made it this far to all to the end of the video, I want to thank you so much. Um, my overall goal with making these interviews and these episodes is to give a voice to dancers. You know, to give them a platform to speak their story. So, if this is of value to anyone, then that means the world to me. My overall goal is to give value to the dance community. So, if you find no value in this, then I urge you to please let me know where I can improve on. Um, I I truly want to, just uh, give value and content to the dance community. So please let me know how I can improve, where I'm messing up, because to be 100% honest with you, I'm learning along the way as I do this. I truly am. So to be able to interact with the dance community, it means the world to me because it gives me feedback and it lets me know what I'm doing right, where I can improve upon. What I'm doing wrong, which I feel like might maybe more important. So please, if you all could comment and just let me know what you think, it means the world to me because that feedback just helps me improve. So um, please comment as well. Please like and subscribe. That means a lot as well. But I want to say thank you so much for just watching this because it means the world to me. I want to take you on this journey of the Two Left Feet podcast. I'm very excited for it. So, once again, thank you so much.